Last month, Absolva roared back with Justice, a ferocious seventh album bursting with melodic power, guest firepower, and the grit of true British metal. With an appearance coming up at Maid of Stone Festival, a headline slot at SOS Festival, and several dates announced around Europe this year, it was high time that we caught up with frontman Chris Appleton. Welcome to Metal Talk, Chris.
Hello, mate. How's it going?
We're doing all right, I think. We wrote that with Justice, Absolver have never sounded more focused or more deserving of the spotlight. How has the reception of the album been for you?
It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been a while since our last studio release, so we really wanted to focus a lot on the songs and the production, and when we were writing the songs, we didn't want to sort of like veer off too much from the classic Absolver sound, but at the same time, we wanted to explore, some different subjects
Hmm.
to sing about, and a slightly different approach to the sound. So, and I think it's worked. I've got Luke back absolutely 100% full time with me now.
Wow.
So every single song was, worked on together, the pair of us, which I think shows in the
Mhm.
songs. Um, and when the album was released, you've always got that kind of you biting your nails. What are the fans and the hardcore fans going to really think of the album? And of course, you don't want them to hate it, but you want them to go, "This is as good as the last album,
Yep.
if not a little bit better." And the response we've got from everybody's been amazing, and the uh, the addition to all the guest singers and all the different bits and pieces. We had some gang vocals, which we haven't done, I think, since the first album,
Right.
to quite this extent. So when we put six voices around one microphone and then double track it to give it that massive kind of Bon Jovi kind of
Yeah.
massive vocal kind of thing.
Yeah.
So all these different elements, I think, have contributed to it. Fire in the Sky, the last album, we did deliberately strip it all back
Hmm.
to basics, and that was more kind of a sci-fi kind of thing. And the subject of this album, we kind of, you know, added all these different elements, and we've made it a cowboy kind of western themed thing, which again was kind of a risk.
Hmm.
And we based it on Tombstone, the old
Yep.
Kurt Russell movie, and it's worked out really great. The fans love it. We are really enjoying playing the songs in rehearsal at the moment. We're having a great time. So yeah, I think we chalk it up as a success.
Cool. 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 I mean, with the likes of David Marcellus, Stu Block, Ronnie Romero, and someone called Blaze Bayley guesting on the album. It's a really nice touch. Can you talk about the idea of kind of getting some guests in for the vocals?
Yeah, it was Luke's idea.
Okay.
It was Luke's idea, and I was putting it off for years because I said it sounds like a lot of work, and because I'm always the producer and the engineer for the albums on the last few Absolver albums, I said, you know, when I've been working with Blaze and we've had all singers and choirs and different musicians to guest on an album, I just know how much of a nightmare it can be.
Right.
So in the end, Luke was like really pushing me. Come on, let's try it for this album. Let's. And I said, who would we get? And I said, well, and Luke went, Ronnie's up for it. It says Ronnie says he'll do a song for us. I'm like, oh, well, maybe let's try that. And then Luke's mate, Stu Block, who he knew from the Iced Earth days,
Hmm.
got in touch with him on WhatsApp and said, "Oh, this is what we're doing for the next Absolver album. Are you up for doing a song?" He said, "Yeah, absolutely." And so that was two in the bag straight away. We were obviously we were touring with Ronnie Romero, so there was a connection there. David from Lord Vulture and Thorium, we've known him for a very long time from Belgium, and he helped me out quite a lot in the early Absolva days to tap into a lot of new European venues. So I've always remembered that with him. He's a really nice guy. And then Blaze, it was just kind of like, you're doing this, mate.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We're not going to ask you. We're just going to tell you.
Yeah, here's the studio time. I mean, you mentioned it's more work. Is from a non kind of technical perspective, is that kind of more work around mastering or the actual quality of the recording or getting them to get the right melody so it all fits in? How does that?
It's more the logistics, because you're not going to have any of these musicians in the room with you,
Mhm.
and you have to send a track kind of in a demo version, and then you send it by email to wherever they are in their studio. And then I send like a guide vocal. I want you to
Mhm.
sing it like this. This is the lyric and this is the melody. So this is what we would like you to kind of base your vocal around. And then they have to record it somewhere else and then send it back to us. And then I take the vocal off. So it all sounds, it's quite a simple process, but logistically, we've got Stu who's in Canada,
Mhm.
Ronnie lives over in Romania. Um, we had David in Belgium. Blaze was a little bit more easier to maneuver
Mhm.
because we could just go around to his house.
Yeah.
But yeah, logistically and getting all the timing right in
Mhm.
everybody's other touring and working schedules, it can be quite tough. But surprisingly, Ronnie was actually the first guy to come straight in. I sent him the track on the Friday. He then went to the studio the Saturday morning, and then
Wow.
we had the tracks by Saturday night. He was absolute true professional, and did a great job on the song "Find My Identity."
Yep.
It was
Yep.
the first one to come in, and then as soon as I put it in my studio, I was like, "Oh, we might be onto something here.
Yep. Yep.
This is
Yep.
going to be really good." So when all the other songs and all the other singers started bringing everything to the table, it was great to actually hear that we'd not actually picked a voice that was similar to mine. Everybody has a completely different voice to mine. So as soon as they start singing on the album, you go, "Oh, who's this?"
Hmm.
It's a different singer. So that was another good element that I didn't
Hmm.
particularly think about
Right.
when we
Okay.
were putting it
Okay.
together.
I mean,
So, but it
it does
works.
it works really really well. I mean, Atlas War Between the Gods. Yeah, it's one of the several standout tracks. I mean, it was obviously easy peasy with Blaze.
Yeah, yeah, it was just straightforward. It was kind of like business as usual, and he was like, "Oh, this is I'm guested on your album for a change." And it's like, "Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's working this way around."
yeah. Cool. I mean,
And
with tracks like the thrill of the chase and Hero in Your Life. I mean, they sound to me like tracks that are absolute shoe-ins for the live set. Is that a kind of consideration when you're writing?
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole dynamic of writing an album in the past, I'd say even the past 5 years has changed, compared to how it was 10 years ago and 15 years ago. Um, so of course, like we've got this new thing where you've got to write an album and everybody expects it on digital release, CD, and now vinyl.
Hmm.
So we kind of over probably since COVID, we've been working on albums to fit on a single vinyl.
Hmm.
So it's almost like going back to 1980. But as soon as we started doing that, we thought, right, well, we've got to make sure the song is interesting enough, without it being really long and drawn out. But what I've also said is just because we're doing it this way on an album doesn't actually necessarily mean that it has to be exactly the way it is on the album when we get it into a live setting.
Yep.
We can do whatever the hell we like once we get it on stage. We can have an extended intro, we can have an extended outro. If I want to, introduce a special message halfway through the song, that's something you'd never do in a studio,
Hmm.
um, for the listener. So it's kind of like it's the difference between a book and a movie,
Hmm.
kind of thing. So yeah, but still, you've always got to listen to the different elements, the different melodies,
Yep.
how catchy is your chorus. When from when you get it on a CD, it might not always translate well when you get it into a room or on stage. So we're very, very careful about these kind of things, and I'm also a lot more careful on how I'm stretching the voice nowadays.
Right. Okay. Yep. Yep.
If I don't want kind of a thunder and lightning Thin Lizzy paced verse, and then by the time it gets to the chorus, you suddenly, oh, it's an Aces High chorus, and I'm like, well, it's not gonna last two shows.
Yep.
But we're a lot more careful nowadays on where the vocals fit in and
Hmm.
where everything's pitched. So those days where we have got 8 or 9 shows in a row, we can get through
You can
that.
get through them, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I love the Street Fighters of Blackford Bridge. Yeah, I mean, it's got that real classic intro. Yeah, then that riff, then the wah wah solo, and then bam. It's a really cool way to finish the album. You got Tom Atkinson on guitar now with Luke Back on bass. How is Tom fitting in with the dual guitar role?
It's just kind of back to business as usual, really. I mean, he was last properly with Absolver, and it was 12 or 13
Mhm.
years ago, I think, on the Flames of Justice European tour. Um, and that was kind of the birth of the whole Absolver twin guitar attack was me and Tom. Um, and when Luke came back, kind of from the iced earth thing, more and more when he was having more time off, and he says, "Oh, how about the Absolver thing?" He kind of went onto the guitar because we already had another bass player, kind of thing. But now Luke's back on bass. It's reawakened an even older kind of thing that I'd forgotten about, which was back in the Fury UK days, which is pre-Absolver.
Mhm.
It's rekindled this massive rhythm section, which is Martin and Luke. So
Mhm.
even though Luke's been in the band for ages, he's not been on bass, and I think I kind of lost sight on what an absolutely monstrous bass player Luke is. Um, so that's kind of like the rhythm section, and then me and Tom back on guitar. Even though all these musicians, the four of us have worked together for
Mhm.
years, we've never actually been in a lineup together
Wow.
as
Okay.
this, with
Yeah.
Martin and Luke on bass, and then me and Tom on guitar. So it's been really, we're actually rehearsing this evening, and and this is actually the first Absolver lineup that's been 100% Mancunian as well.
Right. Okay.
So it's amazing because I'm always pushing you. We're a Manchester metal band,
Mhm.
but there's always been an outsider in the lineup. And so this is the first time in 13, 14 years that the Absolver lineup is 100% Mancunian.
Cool. Nice. Nice. I'm from Norfolk. I've got no hope then. Yeah. I mean, I mean, I mean, Blackford Bridge. Yeah. I mean, that's got to be a consideration for the live set. I mean, you and Tom you have a real blast on that with your kind of question and answer guitars, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean the guitars on this album were a little bit of a tip of the hat to Flames of Justice, the first album,
Hmm.
which was just absolutely covered in massive guitar
Hmm.
stuff, big riffs, trading off the guitar solos, then coming together for the big Thin Lizzy, Iron
Hmm.
Maiden harmonies and everything. So there was a lot of going back to that. It's like, oh, what did we used to do on the first album? How did we approach it back then when it was kind of all fresh and new? And it's like, well, we'll stick another guitar solo here
All right.
straight,
Yep.
straight
Yep. Yep.
after this
Yep.
chorus. There was a lot of that kind of thing. And so yeah, I mean, Blackford Bridge is probably going to hit the live set. I mean, most of the album's probably going to end up hitting the live set throughout this year and
Hmm.
next year for the touring. Um, we'd love to get Against the Odds into the set, which is the Stu Block song, which is kind of more of the ballad or the big
Hmm.
anthemic kind of song. But it's got a lot of mileage, I think, that for a live set. I think
Wow.
they
Yeah.
can really, really make something
Hmm.
explosive out of that song.
Hmm.
So
Cool.
yeah.
Nice, nice. So with the festivals coming up, I mean, that's a great opportunity to get in front of people who maybe haven't heard you live before.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, everything's even though we've, like I said, we feel like we're 13 years down the line with Absolva,
Mhm.
which is amazing, really, to say it, because I know some bands can't even get through two
Yep.
at the moment. But we feel like everything's very fresh,
Hmm.
because we've got this new album, and then we've got this new launch of this new lineup, but everything seems very settled because, like I said, we're four people. We've worked together for a very long time. We've known each other for such a long time, but we're all professional. So we're all having a laugh 1 minute,
Yep.
but then we're like, right, we need to get down to business now. We need to get into rehearsal. We need to work on this verse. We need to work on this instrumental section. What we're doing here with the vocals. Oh, let's get these vocals sorted. Where? So it feels like everything. It almost feels like we're a new band again.
Yep. Yeah. Fun in the
So
studio. Yeah.
fun in the studio, fun in the rehearsals. And everything's kind of building up to this relaunch of the new lineup and the album launch at SOS Festival. We've got a lot of crazy stuff planned
Cool.
for that. And so once that happens, and then we're at Maid of Stone, opening up on the Sunday with on the Michael Schenker Day,
Hmm.
which we're really looking forward to. And then we're back out to Germany and Belgium and
Yep. Yep.
business as usual out in our European home from homes.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Um,
I mean, backtracking slightly. I mean, SOS Festival. Yeah, the album launch, the band relaunch. Yeah. I mean, that's a great lineup, showcasing mostly British bands. I mean, kind of the smaller festivals like that are really important, don't you think?
yeah, like you said, it was kind of created for bands that couldn't get on download or
Hmm.
couldn't get on any of these massive festivals, and then it's just grown and grown and
Hmm.
grown, and then it's probably capped at about 500 people now,
Yep.
um, and purely because the actual all the volunteers and all the workers and sound guys and crew and everything, it's kind of just reached the limit. Any
Yep.
bigger than that, they'll have to expand. We'll have to get more. And at the moment, pretty much everybody from the first year of SOS Festival is still involved
Wow.
today.
Okay. Yep.
So that's 16 years ago or
Yeah.
something.
Wow. Wow.
So, but the bands are what make it. The bands and the audience are really what make it, because you'll the audience will see a band that they have never seen
Hmm.
before, but they will pay attention. They'll really look at them. Then they'll go and have a look at the merch. There'll be bands that have been playing for 10 years plus, and then old school bands that have been going for years. That's the kind of demographic for the whole thing. It's like you can find a fresh new young band, British bands, um, and then you can still see those classic British bands that have been going for years. But the audience, they're very, very receptive to all of it.
Cool.
They're not very one dimensional. So it's a very big family as well, because we get audiences at SOS from all over Europe,
Wow.
and regular people that kind of make it their summer crusade, from France and
Yeah.
Switzerland, Hungary, Germany, Belgium. So it's a good feeling, and of
Hmm.
course that's a real good selling point for some of these British bands,
Hmm.
because
Oh, absolutely.
it's like, oh, we're playing to people in France. Suddenly we're getting listened to and selling CDs to people
Wow.
in France
Yep.
and
Yep.
Germany and everything. So it's good. It's a solid thing that's happened really in Manchester, really.
Cool,
For
cool, cool. I mean, you mentioned Maid
uh,
of Stone. I mean, that's a growing festival as well. You mentioned Download. So, I mean, there's what, 5,000-ish around at Maid of Stone. So you get none of the mess that you might see at Download, yeah. And it's a fantastic opportunity to hit the outdoor stage. You excited for this one?
I'm really excited about Maid of Stone because I didn't really expect it. You know, we made quite a lot of friends there when we played there with Blaze
Hmm.
um the other year. Was it last year? It must have been last year. Um so to get invited back for Absolva to
Hmm.
open up the main stage, it
Hmm.
was really, really cool. Um and we you know we really thank them for that. And you know, because we've kind of we've done a lot down in those areas, and but we're always tapping in more into the European audiences for a
Hmm.
few years. So we kind of feel like we've had a reawakening in certain areas and certain audiences. So it's going to be a great opportunity for us to open up at Maid of Stone, and I'm really hoping we can reconnect with some of those people, you know, when we did some Michael Schenker tours
Yep.
as a special guest.
Hmm.
So being on the Michael Schenker day is really cool for me.
Excellent.
Um, yeah, really looking forward to it. We've just got a fingers crossed on the weather for these festivals.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what we've got to
yeah.
do.
Yeah. Well, that's welcome to England, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
You mentioned Europe. I mean, you've had some. It seems like you've had some good success there. You have plenty of dates. How is the Absolver word spreading across Europe?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've always done well in Belgium. That's
Hmm.
been kind of like our you know, our stronghold, and then we've built up really well over the kind of the west side of Germany,
Hmm.
Dusseldorf, Krefeld, and coming down to like Mannheim and Balingen.
Hmm.
Got a very strong fan base in France. And we've just been kind of working across all the time, and we get always get asked back to a lot of festivals, independent festivals. Um, yeah, we've just been very persistent with it, you know, from the word go. Because you know, I love the UK. I love playing British venues and independent venues, but I always said from the beginning is that we've got to tap into Europe. We've
Hmm.
got to just make sure when we release an album, we're not just selling it to Glasgow,
Yep.
Manchester, and London. We've
Yep.
got to be selling to a European audience as well.
Yep.
So yeah, we've been very strict. We've been very persistent with that, and it's really paid off for us. You know,
Yeah.
we're still 13 years on. We're still independent, and
Hmm.
you know, we've not really struggled with that. It's been tough at times,
Hmm.
but you know, 13 years on, and I can say we're earning money and we're 100% independent.
Yep.
It's a good thing to
It's
be
very
able to
impressive.
say.
It's
Yeah.
very impressive. Very impressive. How was the tour with Ronnie Romero in March?
Fantastic. Yeah, he's he's pretty criminal, really, Ronnie Romero, because he's got just this amazing voice, and then he'll sing 10 shows in a row, and by the end of show 10, he's still singing as good as he was
Wow.
at show 1. And then you talk to him, and he's a ridiculously nice guy as well. So you just kind of like this. What was there must be something wrong with this guy because he's just too nice, and he's got one of the best rock voices in the world today. I really do believe that.
Mm. Yeah.
And the shows were great. You know, all his band are wonderful people. You know, the mainly Spanish. So we got on without those guys like a house on fire, and it's the only tour we did with somebody where I'd finished the Absolver set, and at the end, you know, and everyone's going crazy, coming off backstage, and Ronnie comes up to me and says, "Absolutely great, that mate. Tomorrow, if it's going well, and you want to do an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes, do an extra song, it's no problem."
Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm like, I've never done a tour with anybody
Hmm.
who's turned around and said, if you want to play longer, if you want, you know,
Yeah.
it's all been like running like a
Yeah.
real strict clockwork. So that was the camaraderie we were having all the time on tour.
Nice.
So yeah,
Nice. That's really
great bunch of
impressive. Really
guys.
impressive. I mean, especially with the relationship with Blaze. Yeah. Have you ever thought about America might be a possibility in the future? I mean, or is it difficult to tour there at the moment?
Yeah, I did 2 tours in America and Canada with Blaze, and it was very tough.
Hmm.
And I've always thought if it was tough with Blaze, it's got
Hmm.
to be, you know, 5 times harder with Absolver. Um, it's just a different, completely different world over there.
Hmm.
You know, I always kind of look at our style of metal. The kind of the epicenter of that is Germany
Right. Okay.
and surrounding areas, and then of course you kind of times 10. So, if we're playing to a certain amount of 100 people with Absolva or Blaze, you can kind of times 10 on that if you go play South America.
Right. Okay.
Um, and then, Germany is just everything's metal. There's a lot, all the small independent metal festivals are in Germany. You go to America and it's kind of everything is dumbed down.
Right. Okay.
And so it is percentage down, and I speak to, guys from Accept and Udo and KK Downing and everything. It's great once you tap into it, but it's really hard building it up again. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to go back to America, but absolutely we have to make sure the circumstances are correct, to build there again.
Okay.
So for my foreseeable with Absolver is I'm just trying to explode in Europe as much as I possibly can.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Any more shows, plans that we don't know about to promote Justice this year? Are you still working on trying to fill the calendar a bit more?
Yeah. There's quite a lot of dates that I've not revealed yet. I'm just trying to piece together the routing correctly.
Right.
But I'll be probably announcing more after SOS once I've got SOS Festival
Yep.
out the way. So I've got more things planned in the UK, Germany, and everything. We've got a couple more festivals. And then I want to piece together a really cool tour for the beginning of next year as
Wow.
well. And we're probably not too far off looking at starting to write some more songs for the next album.
Right. Okay.
So, I said to Luke, I said, I don't want to leave it 3 or 4 years again before the next album. I want to really push another one out as soon as possible, especially considering we've got this new lineup and everything. So let's enjoy it whilst we are enjoying it. Let's enjoy being in the studio and being on tour together. So
Cool. I think you're down the Cart and Horses in December in London. We'll have to make that a Metal Talk party for Christmas, I think.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Cool. So Justice is a metal album of major league quality and deserves to be on everyone's playlist and everyone's radar. It's out there now. Any message for the fans, Chris?
Just absolutely thank you very much, everybody, for all your support, and thanks for believing in us, and keep going. We'll keep going as long as you keep following us.
Fantastic. Awesome. We wish you all the very best for the future. Enjoy Maid of Stone and keep on flying the flag for British metal. Chris, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Cheers.